Peter Weber reveals how he really felt about Hannah Brown showing up on his season of The Bachelor.
I mean, I was an idiot. Producers were probably hating me, but I literally, I think they edited this part out. I was like, I'm gonna leave the show. If you wanna give this a shot, I'll leave right now.
Zac Clark opens up about what life has been with Tayshia Adams post-Bachelorette.
And you really give yourself, for me, I gave myself that opportunity to kind of really explore what love was and what this relationship could be. And so coming out of that, I think we had a strong foundation.
And things are getting super messy between Matt James and Rachael Kirkconnell after they stepped out together in New York City. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi with Us Weekly Associate Editor Sarah Heron. Sarah, welcome to another week of Bachelor news.
I mean, Christina, just like I say, whenever we think it's going to be a slow week, the weekend happens and everything implodes. We had so many good interviews this week.
Right.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, like you said, we had great interviews with Peter Weber, Zac Clark. We have this messy situation going on with Matt and Rachael that we're going to get to, but let's break it all down in our bracket of roses.
Yeah, so I think the first thing we should mention is this Peter interview I just did on Us Weekly's Here for the Right Reasons podcast. You can listen to the whole thing out now with his BFF and Bachelorette alum, Dustin Kendrick. And we spoke a little bit about Hannah Brown, and I thought it was really interesting what he had to say about how he really felt looking back a year later when she just showed up on his season. So take a look.
Peter, what do you remember about Hannah Brown showing up on your season of The Bachelor? Were you excited? Were you pissed? Were you annoyed? Were you all the above?
Yeah, wow, good question. So I just was immediately just complete shock. So I remember the first time she showed up on my season was the first night with all the limos. And so we'd gone through, 30 women had come. I had met all 30. And then one more limo shows up. And I don't know if they edited it this way. I think maybe they did, where she was the last person to come out. In real life, she actually was the last one to come out as well. But that limo showed up and it sat there for 15, 20 minutes. No one got out. And I'm just standing there. No one's coming up to me. Obviously they don't show this part, but I'm just they're waiting, okay, when's the door gonna open? What kind of surprise is this gonna be? No producers are coming up to me or anything. And then I guess she was just, getting ready, gathering herself to finally come out and do it. It was a big moment for her too, I guess. And obviously then she opened the door, and at first I was like, there's no way that's Hannah. There's no way. It was it looked I thought it was just this gorgeous girl. I was like, oh my God. And then I realized just her smile, that bright smile, that's Hannah Brown. Holy. And
they're doing it. They're doing it for me.
They're doing it. I knew that somehow, some way, they'd probably try to bring her back or something like that. And yeah, she came out, and I was just extremely just nervous and just shocked and whatnot, but excited to see her too. And then I remember, it was kind of a little emotional for me too, because she did a really sweet gesture. I remember I gave her wings the first, when I first met her the first night. So it was kind of this crazy, full circle thing now where I'm on the other side in front of the same house where we first met, and she's giving me back the wings that I gave her. It was just a really sweet gesture by her. She didn't have to do that, but I appreciated it. And then, yeah, I remember just being so confused, and I was like, should I bring her, ask her to come in? I don't know what to do right now. What's rude or not, or respectful to the women inside. But she ended up obviously leaving. And then I saw her on the next group date, and that was a whole other kind of fiasco. But yeah, that was that.
I mean, was there any part of you that was thought she would actually stick around or be on the because it's kind of a hard thing to ask someone to do, but obviously if they're presenting her she's here and she keeps showing up, you had to probably think, all right, there's something I should be doing here or pursuing here.
True. Yeah. I was an idiot. Producers were probably hating me, but I literally I think they edited this part out. I was I'm going to leave the show. If you want to give this a shot, I'll leave right now. And she's like, you can't do that, Peter. You're the Bachelor, you signed a contract. I'm like, no, I'll do it. What are they going to do to me? And I don't know what I was thinking that day. I was very, very confused, but I don't know. I am very in touch with my feelings, right? And I know when I'm feeling something and when I'm not, and I was just kind of going off of what I was feeling there.
Feeling something up.
Maybe I was a little too impulsive, I'm not gonna lie, but
imagine you just blew up the whole first episode, you just left. That would have been amazing.
That's a wrap.
That would have been, I guess that would have been a record for the shortest season there. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of what I was feeling there. And obviously what ended up happened. But Yeah, because I asked her to come to the house, and she didn't know if she wanted to do that, and that's when I offered, okay, well, maybe I'll just leave, but then that didn't happen, so.
I love that he said, like, I was ready to leave and see if the whole thing worked. I mean, imagine, it would have been, like he said, it would have been the shortest Bachelor season ever, but what could have been?
I was shocked by him saying that. And I feel like even if he felt that way in the moment, for him to admit it over a year and a half later, even more so, because I can't remember when they filmed it, probably almost, a year and a half, that he was willing to throw it all away first. I was like, well, how do you feel about her now? Like, I was like, what's going on?
So strange. And he said that, like, they're not friends, right? They're,
No, he's like, I've seen on Instagram she has a boyfriend, super happy for her. I mean, he obviously went on to have his messy relationships with Hannah Ann and Madison and a longer relationship with Kelly. So I don't think he's sitting at home pining for Hannah Brown, but he is not afraid to admit that he was like, either come on the show or I'll leave with you. Like, he was ready to throw it all away for her. And I thought that was wild.
It was so wild. I really don't feel like if he did, they would still be together though.
Probably not. But I also think Hannah Brown is such an interesting one because I feel like she had such strong relationships with these guys. Like we saw with Tyler Cameron, we saw her show back on Peter's season, and everything felt so emotional and like weighted. And it didn't, I don't know. I just feel like if she picked anyone but Jed, she might still be with them now.
True. I mean, Tyler told us that, like, if they were still together, they would really try to make it work. And obviously, they did afterwards. But if they came off the show together, who knows? Maybe they would have still been together.
And of course, it's easy to say that, right? And like, who knows what would have happened? But it is just interesting that she had these two runner-ups that were very much like infatuated with her. She had really close relationships with. She kind of almost pursued afterwards, but the guy she picked was the one that ended up being the disaster choice. Sorry, Jed.
Sorry, Jed. Didn't make the right choice there. I mean, do we think that Peter will be on Paradise?
He pretty much shot that down. I think he's a little shy about everyone knowing about his dating life again. I think he's ready for a break there. But him and Dustin were very candid about that, the fact that they've been dating in New York City and they're out and about. So I wouldn't be shocked if they, both found someone sometime soon. I just don't know if we'll see it on the beach in Mexico, but we can only hope.
We can only hope. And speaking of Paradise, get your bags packed because the new season premieres on Monday, August 16th, just 2 months after Katie's season of The Bachelorette, which premieres on June 7th. So it's happening. It is happening.
The countdown is on.
So excited. I mean, do you have any people that you're hoping that will be on the beach in Mexico?
Talking to Peter kind of just like reminded me of his girls. And even though I feel like his season was very criticized and we thought it was dramatic or catty, then we watched Matt's girls, I kind of made me miss them. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a Kelsey or a Victoria Fuller or a Madison or Hannah Ann show up on the beach. But then I also saw those reports saying that they were eyeing like old school contestants.
Interesting.
And I think you got to think Becca Kufrin is like, would be amazing because we never get leads in Paradise.
We never get leads. I don't think there's ever been a lead in Paradise. Has there? Maybe
I don't think post show. I guess not. No. I feel like Josh Murray, like post. I know he wasn't a lead, but like post split with Andy was close to that. Like they don't even usually get someone that far in.
Right. Yeah. Same with Nick. I guess Nick then became the Bachelor after his appearance on Bachelor
Colton too. He was on Paradise and then.
So Becca would be amazing. I would love to see her get another shot at love. And then, of course, we have Tayshia and Claire's guys, too. They're going to be there. I mean, we have a whole host of seasons because we haven't had Bachelor in Paradise. We didn't have it last year. So I'm sure Bennett will be popping up. He seems
100%.
Yes, 100%. We don't know the cast yet, but as soon as we do, of course, we're going to let you know. And I cannot wait. I love me some Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, me too. It's the best. And like you said, there's so many people to choose from. And I really think it'll be an interesting mix because also the girls have been on the younger side, but the guys were a little older because of Claire, Tayshia. Katie's guys are kind of in the middle. We haven't even met them yet. Like there's so many options.
Yes, so many options. Can't wait.
And we don't know who will be hosting. Could be Chris Harrison, not sure. But I did recently talk to Eric Bigger on Us Weekly's Here for the Right Reasons podcast. And he had a lot to say about the Chris Harrison situation, including that he should not be canceled and that it would be a really big mistake to sort of write him off. What did you think about that?
Interesting. I mean, it's definitely an interesting perspective. I feel like you're starting to hear a lot more people say it shouldn't be a cancel culture anymore, but more of taking action and taking responsibility for your actions and kind of like a learning experience, which I think you know, he knows Chris. He's been there with Chris. He's spent some seasons with him and knows his heart. And yes, he said it was a huge mistake and that he would like to see him sit down with Rachael and kind of have this conversation, which I think would be a good thing. But yes, he should be taking this time off. And, you know, I don't think that we're going to probably see him in Paradise. I think maybe we'll see him back for Michelle's season, or maybe he'll just kind of come around again for the next season of The Bachelor.
Yeah, the more we've like had time with this whole controversy, I really just feel like they missed an opportunity to not have him as part of After the Final Rose in some way. I think that at the time, it was still a month away when everything went down in February with his interview with Rachel Lindsay and all the pictures of Rachel Kirkconnell were popping up. So I think they maybe jumped the gun a little bit by taking him out of the equation, and they totally should have had Emmanuel Acho there because he was perfect. But a conversation between Chris, Matt, and Emmanuel Acho would have also probably been really beneficial, not only for those three people, but for everyone watching and for Bachelor Nation, and to move forward. Now it's like we're in this weird limbo where what Chris Harrison's gonna have to come out and like prove everything he's been doing versus like being candid about it with them, who are guys who, one, Emmanuel Acho seems always so open to having these conversations and wanting to help, and Matt James, who knows him and went through this journey with him and doesn't, you know, and wants somewhat of the best for him. So I think that was a missed opportunity. Now it's just like weird. Like, what are you been doing this whole time, Chris Harrison?
No, that's so true. And it's like, are they just going to kind of forget that it happened when he comes back? I mean, you can't really. I mean, it'll be the elephant in the room, but it's like, how are they planning on handling this situation? It's like, it's almost like so much time has gone by and you're like, okay, this is really awkward now. Like, it should have been addressed head on. And, you know, he did that Good Morning America interview, but I don't think that did him any favors either. So it's like, he really needs to sit down with the people that he hurt and affected. And I think that would be Matt. I think that would be Rachael. And I'm sure Emmanuel would probably be the perfect person to kind of moderate that, like you said.
Yeah, I just feel like now if it comes up so many months later, it's like, why are we still talking about this? But at the same time, like, we can't just move on. Like you said, that would be weird. And right. These statements don't mean anything if we don't like talk about what they mean. So it's just really bizarre. And I think they should have handled it back in the day, but now I don't know what's going to happen.
No, I have no idea. Well, we will see our first season without Chris on the upcoming season of The Bachelorette, which has Tayshia Adams and Caitlin Bristow stepping in for hosting duties. Now, I recently caught up with Tayshia's fiance, Zac Clark, who said she definitely has some nerves going into the situation, but she has his full support. And he also opened up about what life has been like post-Bachelorette. Take a look.
I've spoken to a ton of Bachelor couples, you know, in the months after the show, and they say the months after the show are the hardest. Would you say that it's been difficult for you guys, and what kind of challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
For all the reasons that people say it shouldn't work, right? Because it's so quick and all that stuff. And I hear that. There's also a lot of reasons why, for me, it does work, right? Because you put the cell phone down, there's no distractions, your conversations are very like pointed and structured. And you really give yourself, like for me, I gave myself that opportunity to kind of really explore what love was and what this relationship could be. And so coming out of that, I think we had a strong foundation. And then it's about like, you know, digging in together and getting to know each other and understanding each other's lives. And we're both, you know, like passionate, driven, busy human beings. And with that, like, we need to remind ourselves to work each other into it. And we've done that. So yeah, the couple months after, there were some ups and downs, of course, you know, and like well documented, but at the end of the day, like, it's all good right now.
Do you guys feel the pressure to stay together because of the show, or do you kind of not listen to the noise? Because you know, there was all those rumors that you guys split up because she wasn't wearing her ring because she was going to get sized. Like, so many people are invested in your relationship. Does that get a little overwhelming at times?
You know, I think, and I explained this earlier, like I know that at the end of the day, you know, there's our relationship, me and her, and then there's everything else kind of around it. And if this isn't solid, which it is, then, you know, this stuff can kind of like work itself into it. But it is solid. And like, at the end of the day, like, none of that other stuff really truly matters. I think you need to be aware, and I think you need to like acknowledge that it could be difficult, just like you're asking me. But that's why we have each other, to support us through those like difficult times or whatever it might be.
Totally. I got to ask, are wedding plans in the works? Or are you guys still taking it day by day?
No, well, I mean, obviously there's wedding plans, there are plans to get married, but it's been a wild start to the year, and is there a wedding date at this very moment? No. Will there be? Yes.
Yeah. Do you think you guys will televise the wedding?
Oh, I have no idea. Is that something you do? Is that something you do?
The bachelor couples have gotten wedding specials and things like that.
I would say probably not.
Yeah.
Knowing us, I would say that's probably a no. But hey, happy wife, happy life. So whatever she wants, I'm in.
Well, if your vows are anything like your proposal, it's going to be the most romantic thing of all time.
I appreciate that.
I kind of fell in love with him after speaking with him. He's so sweet.
He speaks about her with he is really protective over his words and protective of her. And I was reading some of the comments on your interview, and everyone was ships really hard. So I feel like they right now are Bachelor Nation's sweethearts, and people are really rooting for them. But he's honest about the fact that this show is still kind of weird and we're going through it a little bit, but gonna hopefully come out stronger on the other side.
Definitely. And he said, they're talking about wedding plans, haven't solidified a date yet, probably won't have a TV wedding, but it seems like they're very much in love. And I don't know, like you said, so many people are shipping this relationship and want it to work, and I feel like it might.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we watched Tayshia be so good at being the Bachelorette. I think that's what it came down to. Claire was a different kind of Bachelorette than Tayshia, and Tayshia made decisions seemingly based on what she really wanted. She had honest and open conversations on the show, and they showed us everything. So it also gave us an opportunity to really get to know them versus what we just saw with Matt's season where we were missing stuff. Not to go back to Dustin, but he was mentioning on the podcast with Peter that he had full-on conversations with Hannah Brown about race and had a lot more time with her. And it looked like he was the guy who was why do you keep getting a rose? No one knows why you're here.
Right.
So there's always more to what we don't see. And I'm sure with Tayshia and Zac, there's even more that we didn't see, but we did at least get a good sense of their relationship, and that helps us root for it. And that's an example of why they dropped the ball last season, because we didn't get to see that.
Right. So I couldn't agree with you more. I love them. So hope they work out.
Well, I mean, I had to, of course, drop Claire's name. I always have to bring her up. And after weeks of those reunion rumors and those pictures in New York City, he has finally confirmed they're back together. He posted that mask mirror selfie. It said it all.
It said it all, finally. I mean, the worst kept secret in Bachelor Nation.
I mean, if you're going to kiss with your masks on in New York City, it's come on.
We know you're back together. The jig is up. But like we said last week, they are being very private about their relationship this time around, which may do them some favors so they can kind of figure out what went wrong the first time and if they really are compatible without kind of all this Bachelor Nation noise around them. And it seems like they're making it work. She's been spending time in New York. I think he's went out to Napa Valley for her birthday. So, things are kind of back on track for them.
For sure. And I'm not ever trying to root against anyone. I always just point out that, Dale and Claire broke up seemingly for a reason, so it should be interesting. And I thought it was a choice for her, speaking of Claire, to get involved in this Matt and Rachael drama after she had quite the messy breakup of her own.
Seriously. So let's get to our cringe of the week. And like you said, Claire jumped into this whole Matt James, Rachael Kirkconnell thing. So what happened? Kind of break it down.
Oh man, what happened, Christina? So obviously we saw Matt and Rachael walking the streets of New York City together last week. We heard from sources that they were still just friends and that they were kind of just reconnecting and had been in communication mostly since after the final rose and communicating. She was, informing him what she's been working on. He was supporting her, and they had a platonic friendship. But then sources have come out since then and said, well, from Rachel's perspective, she thought that they were building a foundation to get back together. And from Matt's perspective, he was being a supportive friend. So those are what the sources on both sides say. And then there's this woman named Grace who spoke to Reality Steve because she, I guess, knew Matt before the show. Then after him and Rachael broke up in February, they had been communicating again. And when she saw Matt and Rachael were in New York together, it didn't sit well with her because she was like, if I was going to get back together with my ex, I'd want to know what he was saying to another girl. So she took it upon herself, I think, to talk to Rachael through Reality Steve maybe. She was on Instagram Live with him. And then when someone tweeted that Claire tried to warn us about Matt James, she took it upon herself to send some emojis, a little, get involved and say that, yes, she, and did her little smirk and shrug.
Yikes. So, and then even that girl Grace said that she feels like Rachael is the victim and that Matt kind of just went on the show for fame, which is what Claire said to begin with. So it seems like the tides are turning against Matt a little bit in this situation because, yeah, everybody thought, oh, Matt and Rachael are definitely getting back together. But yeah, his side is saying, you know, absolutely not. They're just friends. And then this girl comes forward and I don't know. I think a lot of people feel bad for Rachael in this situation now.
I'm sure it's a little bit of both, right? Like, I'm sure, I mean, a source did tell us, and that's what also Reality Steve reported, and we had another source tell us that Matt allegedly paid for Rachel's plane ticket and she was staying in his apartment. Now, that would imply, in my perspective, that yes, maybe we were laying the groundwork to get back together. Right. That's kind of inferring that they're more than just friends. It's a choice. You know, you can FaceTime all day, but if you're paying for someone to come see you and stay with you in New York, you know, I get why that would be considered maybe leading someone on. Yeah. But if they were broken up, then technically Matt doesn't owe Rachael anything if he's talking to some girl that he's met before. And it's not like, I guess I don't think he was promising this girl the world either. I think he was kind of just dating both of them, or almost not even dating both of them, but talking to both of them.
Right, or trying to figure out what he wants, if maybe he wants to pursue this relationship with Rachael, because who knows if this is like, it's probably the first time they've seen each other since after the final rose. Who knows? We have no idea if they met up in secret. But yeah, I mean, maybe he's just trying to figure it out. And like you said, he is a single guy. He has every right to date multiple people as long as he's not making promises of a future with these people. But
yeah, I mean, I just think like you said, who knows? Claire deciding to weigh in is wild to me because, as we mentioned, her and Dale have had their own, you know, messy back and forth. They fought over Instagram statements and all that, and people have accused Dale of the same thing, like you just said. Mm-hmm. So who knows where, you know, any of these relationships are going to go? But it is wild to me that Matt and Rachael, I mean, I guess I just felt like that after the final rose was so cold that it felt like maybe they were really never going to see each other again, like Emmanuel Asha suggested. But we never really, that just goes to show us we never know what's going on. Who knows what their text conversations were.
Right, but Matt seems to be fine. He was living it up at WrestleMania with Nikki and Brie Bella, so, you know, it doesn't seem to be phasing him in one bit.
No, and now hopefully both of them can actually cut the ties, move on, no matter what the other person, I don't even think they should be friends right now. I just don't think that's healthy for either one of them. So I think Matt and Rachael should stay far away from each other.
Seriously. Far away as possible. All right, well, moving on to our Where Are They Now segment, and it appears that Bachelor Nation's Victoria Fuller has found a new religious path. She appeared on Clickbait with Bachelor Nation podcast and revealed that she has decided to save herself for marriage. Interesting. It seems like, because, you know, we saw her on Peter Weber's season. She was dating Chris Soules there for a while, and now she has completely changed her views on dating and relationships.
Yeah, I mean, she also was the one who was like linked to Chase Rice and got screwed by producers when they brought him up. I mean, Victoria, I feel like was kind of like controversial in her own way. So this is really interesting. I don't know if this is a response to kind of the reaction she got as kind of being branded. Like, she was accused of like breaking up marriages and all that stuff by that girl who crashed her hometown date. Like, she got kind of a bad rep and she denied everything that she was accused of, but I don't know if that maybe pushed her into the opposite direction or if maybe this was just a side of her the show totally cut out because that didn't go with the narrative of she's a homewrecker.
Right, no, totally. And she said now that she's dating for religious purposes, like if her religious views don't match up with somebody, she's not going to date them. She said if she went on vacation with somebody, they would have to stay in separate rooms. So she's really like, so I wonder if she is on Paradise, how this would affect anything. It would kind of be interesting to see her there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if she's saying she's a virgin or she's just like a born again virgin or saying that's really none of our business. But I mean, we have had women like who have been virgins on the show before and men who have been virgins on the show before, and it always comes out and it becomes like part of the storyline seemingly. So I think this could also be laying the groundwork. Like maybe we're talking about Victoria again and then we will see her in Paradise. I don't know, but as soon as we know, we will let you know. And so that's it for this week's episode of Here for the Right Reason. Sarah, like you said, you have a full interview with Peter and Dustin. Is a great conversation, so make sure everybody check that out and be sure to check back in on Us Weekly's YouTube channel every Tuesday afternoon for Here for the Right Reason. Sarah, thank you so much as always. Thank you, Christina. Bye, guys.
Bye.